I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for the white male over 50. Always come early, always stay late because that's where the real excitement happens. And so, Patrick, you've had a lot of brain energy in the last few weeks. What would you like to start with?
Whatever you would like to. It sounds like you had a pretty good agenda.
Well, it's interesting. We're going to have people joining us, and when they do, we're going to say, "Yep, we're done. Come early, stay. Come early." Because so, like, like the ego, the ego, like Elaine had shared and built off of what you had talked about, and said something about, and there's so many people participating now in the thought chain. I'm like forgetting who contributed to what. And in a way, it doesn't matter. In a way, we want to acknowledge people who have contributed for sure. But it's like when people see success, it seems like it goes to their head. And then they're like, okay, I'm fine. Like, yeah, no, this is good. Like they take credit for the success, they stop growing, and then they crash and burn. And as my good friend Stan Lambert would say, they become a smoking hole in the ground. And you were talking about parents and how, like that one time after pickleball, I was just blown away. So I don't know, you intrigue me because most people, like once they have their mind set to something, like they don't change it. And there's two or three times where you've had your, from my perspective, you've had your mind locked on something and and you've changed your mind. That almost never happens with human beings.
Well, I don't, it's hard to keep track of all the things what we talked about before. Um, yeah, the most recent thing when I was telling you this morning how, last week was like a determination I was going to have breakthrough, and I did multiple ways. And then this week was just an awful week. I made some big, big, expensive mistakes. Oh, God. And it hurt. And then, but it was my own fault, my own issue. And I realized that it had something to do with, something that I've been struggling with since I was like 8 years old, and that was painful, and it was like, okay, so this thing, whatever it is, has been, haunting me since I was 8 years old, stopping me. And I wasn't aware of it until I'm 60, almost 67 years old. And that's a great breakthrough, but it's a very painful one. So, so it does relate to ego, but I mean, it was just like the first part of breakthroughs are always wonderful and great, and you get to jump up and down and feel all excited. All right, I learned a new shot in pickleball, and I'm just kick ass. And then the second part of breakthrough is, oh, the reason I've been doing that stupid thing is because I have a really, really nasty bad habit, and it has to do with me and nobody else. And, that can be painful, and think in terms of like important limitations and problems, looking at something in a wrong way or whatever. So that was my week this week. So my wife looked at me and she said, oh, this is part of your breakthrough, isn't it? It's like, ouch. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's fascinating. It's hard to recreate the conversations that Patrick and I have around pickleball. Like I just want to hold up my phone and say, okay, we can, because it just flows. It's all natural, and but there's this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece. There's all these pieces that are, seem to be interconnected, and so one of the things I've been working on is what's called the ratchet principle. So I've noticed about people is they make breakthroughs and then they take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And so I've been working on that. And so Rosanna's joined us. Elaine and Nora said they were going to join us. But they're women, so there's going to be a reason why they didn't join on time, and it's fine, I guess. So on the ratchet principle, so Rosanna, that's fascinating. You actually showed up early today. Why is that?
Just making sure I got there on time. That's all. I set my alarm.
Copy that. So Patrick was talking about how everything's interconnected, and how he had a breakthrough. You want to share it? You want me to share it, Patrick?
Well, that's fine. I mean, I'd be interested in hearing what you heard. See
Right.
if it's what I communicated. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So what I heard, Patrick, and this isn't saying he said it, I'm just saying this is what I heard, is that he realized that everything's interconnected. And so if he's having a problem in his marriage or with his kids, he might find the answer in business. And if he's having problems business, he might find the answer to the problem in his marriage. Like everything's interconnected together. And so that changes like everything. When you realize that, it changes everything.
Right. That's exactly it. Our conversation kind of went like it was amazing to me that generally, as problem solving, we generally break all of our problems down into little bitty pieces, and we have kind of a tunnel vision, and we work and work and work and fix one problem, then we go on to the next. The idea of everything being interconnected suggests that maybe an equally valid problem solving technique would be to expand our vision, look all around us, look in our life, assume that everything is actually connected, and maybe find answers in one place that you wouldn't ordinarily look, and realize, holy smokes, there are answers right there. I've never looked over there. I never thought to look over there. And that's kind of how a lot of people generally solve problems, is that tunnel vision. I'm saying the interconnection principle says, no, that's one way, but there's a equally valid other way to look the other way and look all around and look for solutions. Does that
So
make sense?
you're what, 68 years old?
I'm 60. I'll be 67 here in a little bit.
So 67. What was it that triggered this after 67 years? What was triggered this new way of thinking?
It had to do with a particular problem that I was looking at for my business, and that problem was just vexatious. It was really, really a hard problem for me, and one day I just happened to be looking at and dealing with something completely different, and it all of a sudden occurred to me that solution was sitting there the whole time right there, and it was a solution for the problem I was having, but I had never thought to look in that direction. It just never occurred to me to connect the two. And so the breakthrough part was saying, okay, you can go ahead and drill down and specialize in your solutions and look for the classic solutions, but if you don't find easy answers there, it would be wise to look everywhere, because there's a spiritual dimension to it. We have to assume that every part of our being and our existence in our life is purposeful and exists in the context of everything else. That's the God principle. It's all there in the universe. That's how he fills the universe. Everything is connected. So there's the spiritual aspect of that makes perfect sense to me now. But for whatever reason, I walk through life always looking for legal answers and legal books and marital answers and relationship books and what, plumbing answers in plumbing books, that kind of thing. That makes sense to you?
Yeah, and it's like I wonder, like I don't know when I discovered that. I don't know if it was in my 30s or 40s, but I've said for decades, I've said, if I can't figure something out in one area, I'm going to look at small children. I'm going to look, Bible. I'm going to look at nature, because those things tend to be like you can often find solutions in those areas. Or if I can't find like with the marriage, if I can't find something there, I go to business. If I can't find something business, I go to my kids, because I find that they're similar, but they're different enough to where they do it. So like what so I was surprised when you said what you did, and I'm like people like like Nora and Rosanna are here, and I feel, Patrick, that when I say something, nobody listens to me.
Right.
And I feel if they do listen to me, they don't understand what I'm saying anyways. And if they do listen, they do understand, which they don't, but let's say they did, they wouldn't share it with anybody else. And so like why wouldn't people, it's almost like people don't want to solve problems. They it's like they've learned to go ahead and live with the pain. Like I remember my mom telling me that with my oldest brother, when she gave birth to him, I guess her hip went out and she didn't know it. Years later, she went in the chiropractor. Chiropractor said, "Oh my goodness, Mrs. Boersma, your hip is way out of whack." I mean, and he put it in, and she's like, "It's the weirdest thing. Like I could get out of bed normal." Like she had learned how to change how she got out of bed, how she walked, how she sat based on the pain. And she got used to that pain the way it was. And it's almost like people do that emotionally as well. Welcome, Mike. Good to have you here. So this here is in your voice in my headset. When trauma gets triggered, you don't act your age, you act the age your wound was created. Think of it this way: your mind is a house, and somewhere in this house, there is a locked room that you haven't opened for years. Something happened in that room when you were 8, 14, the younger version of you. Something happened in that room. So, what you did is turn off the lights and shut the doors, and you kept living the rest of the house. But that room doesn't disappear, it just waits. The moment something enters in your mind, you have a feeling. It sounds like the old fear, the door comes barreling open, and all of a sudden you're right back in the age that it happened. And that's why you shut down. It's why you panic. That's why you get defensive, because it's never today's version of you reacting. It's still the younger version of you trapped in that room that never got to finish the story. But here's the thing: true healing is not pretending that room doesn't exist. It's walking back in that room, turning on the lights, and making sure the younger version of yourself finally is strong, be strong, because when you do that, you stop reacting as the younger version of you, and your reaction finally starts growing up with you. And when you stop acting like that entire room doesn't exist, you take your entire house back. Rosanna shared this post months ago in the Friday Your Voice in My Headset podcast on friendship. Yeah. And so Mike and I have known each other for, I don't know, a few weeks, a month or something. And it's fascinating to me on how fast you can go in friendships, relationships. And people, I think, have often never experienced it, so they don't think it's possible. And so getting to the ego, like, I wonder if the ego prevents the hurt from being healed, like staying away from that room, like not going towards it.
Mark, I got a question.
Yeah.
What if a person doesn't know how to get back to that room or what the room is?
Well, that's the whole thing. See,
Yeah.
I think if when we get angry, when we get upset at something, like one of the marriage seminars Roseanne and I went to, and they said, when the thing isn't the thing, what is the thing? And so most men go ahead and have experienced this with most husbands have experienced this with their wives, where they go ahead and they're angry with this, but that's not the thing they're angry with. They're angry with something else. And you're like, why are you? And I think it goes all the way back in to childhood. And I wonder if men just shut down. They have no feeling at all. Like there's no pain. They just shut their power plant off and they just have no feeling. Where women, it's like they don't shut their power plant off. And I'm not talking all men all the time, and I'm not talking all women all the time, because I know women who I think have shut down. They're just walking zombies. But I think it's more prevalent with men where they just like, okay, this is what it is.
I know, Mark, there's times when I can tell. Usually it's not till afterwards. Then I'm like, oh crap. Okay. That kind of reminded me of my dad. And it's not always good. Not that he was a bad guy, of course. But I also, when my wife sometimes, because I knew her mom and knew kind of how controlling she was, the results of that did different things. But I can see that in her at times as well when she's responding, maybe, you know what I mean, to something I say or responding to her. So, yeah, I agree.
Well, and this is where I wonder if that room spreads throughout the whole house. Like it started in one room and then it becomes another room and then it becomes another room and then it becomes another room. And I do wonder if that's a big part of Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, like a lot of the neural, the brain science stuff. I wonder if just over the years, it just wrecks the entire system of thinking. And so, like, Patrick is abnormal. Like, I don't understand why men don't understand this, but they seem like they don't. Like, Patrick is honest with, hey, like he started off the podcast. We started early today, actually. And he started out the podcast and he said, you know, there was something that happened the other day and there was a breakthrough. And then when he was laughing at pickleball, he says, Mark, I wonder if people don't like breakthroughs because it sucks. Like there's bad stuff. I'm like, right? And then he said it brought him back to when he was 8 years old. So it's fascinating because a lot of the men that are in their 70s, 80s that I hang out with, they talk a lot about their childhood. Not bad. They talk a lot about good things in their childhood, like this and this and this and this. But I wonder, it's almost like, I don't know, my understanding of chemotherapy, they try to kill just the cancerous cell, but they're going to get some other cells around them. I wonder if the same thing is when we block out memories, for whatever reason, we block out memories of our childhood. We not only block out that memory, but we block out like a whole bunch of things. And it becomes an addiction where that's the go-to. Like if I don't like something, I'm just going to block it out. I'm just going to block out what that person said. I'm going to block out what I said. If I said something wrong, if I said something improper, if I said something hurtful, I'm going to do what's called a mind shift, and I'm going to change what I said. Well, you said this. Well, no, I said this. No, you didn't say that. Well, that's what I meant. No, you meant what you said the first time. And so, like Mike and Patrick are just fascinating to talk to, especially before and after pickleball for whatever reason. Patrick, did you have anything else that you wanted to share on the breakthroughs? Or like, I think what happened to you with the 8-year-old, Patrick, I think that would help other people. Like, how can you discover, like, there's things I discover at 62 and I'm like, man, I wish I knew that like 20, 30 years ago. Like, that would have been really nice to know 20, 30 years ago. Do you have anything you want to share, Patrick?
Yeah, I wanted to respond to something that Mike had said. How do you know where that a room is? And it's kind of interesting because my wife, who is a therapist, does a lot of this kind of work with her people, and she has a system that's a pretty good system. First thing she does is she helps people start feeling again. They have to start. Because your emotions and what you feel, are a lot more liberated. A lot more. They can, they are there a lot more. If you can, once you start feeling them, they tend to kind of control you rather than you controlling them, in the sense of where you're at in your house, the metaphor you're using. Then what she does is say, so once you start feeling something, the next thing you do, especially the negative stuff, when did you first start feeling that? Go back in your memory and look and think about when you felt this. And it's amazing how you can actually start tracking back and say, well, holy smokes, I felt this, or this I experienced, way back when. And that is an indicator that's the room, that's the room. And so her mechanism is to explain to people that person there controls a lot more of the house than you would think. It takes control of the house, and it takes control of your life. And so that's why you have people who are acting like 8-year-olds who can be 50-year-old men or women. And she says that because that person is running the show for the moment. And so that's her. So anyway, I just thought that you might find that kind of interesting. So,
yeah, very. I find it interesting. Well, it actually it makes me mad. I mean, mad's not the word. My brother, let me say it. My brother seems to remember more things, more details, I would say, about things when we were growing up than I do. Now, of course, when he brings it up, it's like, oh yeah, man, I forgot about that. I'm like, then I'm like, well, why didn't I just have that right there in front of me? That I, could have thought about, or whatever it might be, but I don't know. It seems like I found people who can remember things really well, and others who can't. And I don't know. I just find that interesting. Why that is, I don't know why that is, but I don't know. I struggle with that a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Are you going to pickleball tomorrow to Syracuse, Mike?
Yes, I am. Hey, and by the way, Mark, I think I'm going to drive, which you're welcome to ride with me down. I will just probably be going from there on to the lake, possibly.
Okay, gotcha.
I made that determination, but possibly.
Okay.
But anyways.
So that time is fascinating to me, on how there's discussion about it, and what the discussion, I think about, like, when I'm talking to anybody, I'm thinking, what is the conversation about? And is that a significant conversation that could be life-changing for me and for them? Because I want to stay in that significant realm. But
sure,
people often like to go off of that, which is fine if that's what they want to do. I'll tend to just be quiet then. I just won't say anything, which is fine too. And then I can think, because I'm thinking. Elaine or Rosanna, good to have you both here today. Do you have anything? Do you ladies have anything that you would like to share on it?
No, I think I am good, but it's very interesting.
What's
Good thought.
interesting about it?
Look on. So ever since that quote I shared, I've been trying to go back into the different rooms and figure out what causes the responses I have. It was good what Patrick shared.
Right. And so when you look at this one, like I'm not a real big Facebook. I have one, but I don't even know the password. Other people do all of it. So I'm not going to see this. And because she sees it, brings it up on the Voices of Your Voice in My Headset, the Friendship podcast. And it changes everything. Like it changes everything. It's like Rosanna's out there looking for answers. I'm out there looking for answers. And if you're pretty happy with your life, like I'm pretty happy with my life, if people are pretty happy with their life, well, why would you want to change? Why would you want to grow? Because you're pretty happy. And then I wonder if you stop growing. Elaine, anything you got?
No, I'm good.
Elaine has something. But it's subconscious. So I don't know, Mike, if you knew that I was a subconscious, I can read people's subconscious.
Well, subconsciously, I thought that.
Yeah, there you go. Right. It's true. Patrick, Mike, anything else that either of you have?
Right now.
I was just thinking that, Mark, if we do all right together tomorrow, I just hope that him and Virgil aren't so distracting like they were the last time.
They were having a fun time. They were talking about interesting things. And so, I was picking up parts of their conversation while also tracking our conversation and stuff. So it was pretty cool. Patrick, anything you want to add?
Nope, not right now.
So I told Patrick my experience is that if you have an epiphany, if there's an awakening, and so, Dave Libby and I were at a coffee connection years ago, and I asked him, I said, what do you think women want from men? What do you think wives want from husbands? He didn't even bat an eye. He just said they want to be awakened. And I thought, well, that's fascinating. And so, and I think that's what men want from women. I think that's what a husband wants from a wife. He wants to be awakened. I think that that's what a wife wants from a husband. She wants to be awakened. But I think that they're afraid of being awakened. I think for whatever reason. And so the internalization model, like we're unclear about something. How do we gain engineered clarity? Well, we can be awakened. And when we are awakened, we ask questions that we've never asked before. And when we're asking questions, we're discovering new things about ourselves that we've never discovered. Or we can ask questions. If we ask the right questions, better questions, we can become awakening. So it can be questions awakening or awakening questions. If this doesn't connect back into our why, like why we were put on this planet, like we were created by an infinite creator, and he created us to become who we were meant to become, but he gave us free will not to be. So how many people are not living in alignment with their full creation? That connects back into your why, and then it helps us to listen to ourselves, listen to other people. When we do that, that gives, and we see new insights. And that leads to purification of our intentions, meaning we realize, the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Like Solomon says, wisdom sucks. mean, that's what he says. He says, wisdom sucks. Like, it's terrible to have wisdom. It's so cool to go around not just clueless. It really is. Like, people that hang out with me say, Mark, there's a part of me wish that you didn't say that, because now that I see this, like when somebody says not, like I'm not being mean, well, you really are. That's why you put a not in front of it. So I can put knots in front of anything, but my knots never work. I'm not going to go ahead and be direct, or I'm not going to be a jerk. Like, my knots, women's knots really work. My knots never work. Anyways, and then that leads to radically thinking differently. That gives us leverage, new capabilities. That then gives us the ability to internalize. And when we internalize, we change. If we haven't internalized something, we haven't changed. You can tell, like, people go to church and they hear a sermon, but they don't, like, all these people talking. And I'm like, I just want to say, excuse me, everybody. Like, excuse me. What are you all talking about? Are you talking about the sermon? Like, was it a good sermon? Like, are you, like, why, how do you go ahead and you spend a half an hour, and how did it change you? And it's almost become like Pastor James McDonald, which Mike has a really fascinating story, another time, another podcast. But he says, familiarity breeds contempt. And then we go and we do something. And then when we do something, Peter Miles gave me this, we fail. And then you get it. And that's the human condition. You're going to go out and do the whole thing all over again. And that's growth. Like, that's the human condition, to go ahead and say, so that's how the Bible says, don't allow knowledge to puff you up. How do you go ahead and prevent that? It's pretty simple. Just do it. You have 3 doctorate degrees in child psychology. Have a child. It doesn't work. All the education doesn't work. So anyways, this has been good. Appreciate having you all on. Great having you back on, Patrick. This is really nice. I can't wait for next week and the next week and every week thereafter, because this is where you lock it in for yourself, because other people will think about it and then they'll play on it and then they'll give you the answer and you'll give them the answer. And then we're all like 3-year-old boys and girls and we're all playing together. We're all learning together. It's like, what did you do? Like, well, I tried this and I tried this and I tried this. Great to have you on, Mike. Anybody have any closing thoughts, comments? So here's a challenge. Like, do we care about anybody? And my contention is, I don't know that we do. You'd think parents care for their children. You'd think a husband cares for his wife. A wife cares for her husband. You'd think that. But this is a pretty cool podcast. It's what, 30 minutes-ish? And it's like, are we going to share it with anybody? Are we going to make the decision with them? Well, I'm not going to give that to this person because, I don't know how they're going to respond. Like, why wouldn't you want to share this with somebody else and say, you don't have to say you agree or disagree. It's just an interesting thought to think about. So hopefully, you'll do that. If you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate, or you can call toll-free 888-230-2300, outside the U.S. 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.